Fly this helicopter and I'll marry you, she joked. The way she said it, light-hearted, teasing, was meant to make him smile. But when the single dad veteran standing beside her actually started the engine, the ground beneath her heart shifted. If you're hearing this story, don't scroll. Stay till the end, because what started as a joke turned into one of the most heart-touching journeys I've ever witnessed. And if you love stories about courage, love, and second chances, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. You won't want to miss what happens next. It all began at a small town fair in Montana. The kind of place where the smell of popcorn mixed with the sound of country songs and laughter drifting through warm summer air. Emily wasn't supposed to be there that day. She was a travel journalist passing through, a woman who told everyone else's stories but never found her own. And yet, when she saw the bright red helicopter parked near the edge of the field, she wandered closer. Jake was standing beside it, adjusting a few wires, his sleeves rolled up, his skin tanned from years of service under the sun. He had that quiet confidence that comes from surviving too much and still smiling through it. There was a small boy playing with a toy plane nearby, his son, Noah. Emily had never met him before, but there was something about the way Jake watched his son that caught her heart. It wasn't just pride, it was love built through battles, sleepless nights, and loss. Is this yours? Emily asked, gesturing to the helicopter. Jake chuckled. Used to be mine, in a way. Now it's just for show. I teach tourists how to fly. Oh, really? She said with a smirk. Well, fly this helicopter and I'll marry you. She meant it as a joke, one of those throwaway lines people say when they're not ready for something real. But Jake looked at her with those steady, kind eyes and said, all right. Hold my coffee. And before she could react, he climbed into the cockpit. The engine coughed, sputtered, and then roared to life. The rotor blades began to spin, the air whipping around them. People nearby turned to look, shielding their faces. Emily's laughter froze in her throat as she realized he wasn't kidding. When he landed a few minutes later, his smile was wide, and the boy, Noah, was cheering. He did it, miss. My dad can really fly. Emily clapped, still half stunned, half enchanted. I guess I owe you a ring, then, she teased, but her voice wavered. There was something different about Jake, a quiet strength that pulled her in. Over the next few weeks, Emily stayed in town longer than she planned. She said it was for research, but deep down she knew it was because of Jake and Noah. She found herself helping with Noah's school project, bringing homemade cookies to Jake's hangar, sharing stories about the places she'd seen, but beneath the laughter, there was a heaviness Jake carried. His wife had died 3 years earlier in a car accident while he was deployed. He blamed himself, though he'd had no control over it. Every time he saw Emily smile at Noah, it stirred something he'd buried under duty and guilt. One night, as the three of them sat watching the sunset from the airfield, Emily said softly, "You ever think about flying again?" "Really flying?" Jake hesitated. "Sometimes. But I'm not sure I deserve that freedom anymore." She turned to him. "You served your country. You're raising your son. You've already earned it, Jake. You just have to forgive yourself." Those words struck him deeper than she knew. That night, he stared at an old photograph of his wife and promised himself that moving on didn't mean forgetting, it meant honoring her by living fully again. The next day, Jake surprised Emily. "You said you'd marry me if I flew the helicopter," he said, grinning. "What if I teach you how to fly instead?" She laughed, shaking her head. "You're serious, aren't you?" "Dead serious." And so began their flying lessons, early mornings filled with nervous laughter, trembling hands on the controls, and Jake's calm voice guiding her through every turn. Somewhere between the clouds and the wind, Emily realized she wasn't just learning to fly a machine, she was learning to trust, to open her heart again. Then came the storm. One evening, as they were returning from a short flight, the weather turned without warning. Dark clouds rolled in, the wind howled, and the helicopter jolted violently. Emily froze, panic gripping her chest. Jake's voice cut through the chaos. "Look at me, Emily. Breathe. You've got this." Her hands trembled, but she followed his instructions, keeping the nose steady. Together, they navigated the storm and landed safely. When the helicopter touched down, Emily burst into tears, not from fear, but from the sheer force of surviving something together. Jake reached for her hand, his voice barely a whisper. You did that. You flew us home. That night, under the hangar lights, they didn't need to say much. The look they shared said everything. Sometimes love doesn't arrive with grand gestures, it comes quietly, through shared courage and the belief that broken people can heal each other. Months later, at the same fair where they first met, Jake stood beside the same red helicopter, Noah holding a small bouquet of wildflowers. Emily walked toward them, wearing a simple white dress and a smile that could outshine the sun, and Jake took her hand. You once said if I flew this helicopter, you'd marry me. She laughed through tears. Guess I did. He leaned close. So, what do you say, Emily? Ready to keep flying with me? The crowd cheered as she nodded, her voice breaking. Always. And as the helicopter lifted into the golden evening sky with Jake, Emily, and little Noah aboard, the sound of its blades blended with laughter, music, and the promise of new beginnings. So if you've ever been afraid to start again, remember their story. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means flying again, even when your wings once broke. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs hope today, because sometimes, the best love stories start with a joke and end with forever.